Hey guys, it's Graham. What's cracking? Miserable freaking weather we're having today. I am headed to the comic shop. It's always weird saying that. Whatever. To pick up this week's books. And over the last 2 weeks, I haven't really reviewed anything. I tried doing a catch-up episode earlier, but it was kind of a wandering mess. So let's just instead talk about Absolute Superman, because the first volume of that has wrapped up. They've got 5 issues in the bag, and well, where are we? I've enjoyed this one probably the most out of all of the Absolute Trinity, we'll say, just because, well, to be perfectly fair, I've got a bit of a bias towards Superman. He's my favorite DC character. Um, the Absolute Batman stuff was inventive and cool, and I liked it. I've made mention of my quibbles before about issue 4. They called in a guest artist, and it's like, let's do a flashback and let's do it with bad art, and it just annoyed me. On the other side of the Trinity, we had Absolute Wonder Woman. I really hope that wind isn't coming through too bad. It's nasty today. And I was pleasantly surprised to see Kelly Thompson do better with Wonder Woman than she had with Scarlet over at Energon Universe. That one was well done. But Absolute Superman, I was always looking forward to that one the most out of those three. Who are the heroes? Who are the villains? What's the story? Well, obviously the hero is Superman. Also on the protagonist side, the good guy side, we've had a couple of issues of Lois Lane. She's been sort of out of the picture for the last 2 or so. We had a brief cameo from Jimmy Olsen. We've seen what their versions look like in this universe. And we even had one quick tease of Martha Kent. She's in a rest home. Her memory is kind of shot. We're not entirely sure yet what her relationship is with Clark, what role he had to play in the Kent's life. We saw a quick look of the Kent's farm. It looks like it was kind of foreclosed on and abandoned. I'm going to assume that Jonathan Kent is dead and out of the picture. So we're at that point in the timeline. And on the villain side, Brainiac is the big bad who's controlling everything. If you don't read comics and you're unfamiliar with this one, he's a villain that I don't think he's ever had a screen treatment, like outside of any of the cartoons maybe. But he's never been a villain in the movies, and he was the villain in one season of Smallville. He's just a hyper-intelligent alien. He's got ties to Krypton. And in this story, all we know is that he's on Earth. He's plugged into a giant network of computers. He's controlling things from the shadows. And under his thumb is the Peacemaker Corps. Peacemaker is the character played by John Cena in the last version of the Suicide Squad movie. He also had his show on HBO Max. Imagine an entire corps of those guys with guns and the toilet seat helmets. They're out enforcing stuff at the behest of a corporation controlled or owned by Brainiac in some way. What is the objective? What are the stakes? Environmentalism is the heavy theme in this story. I think I heard in a video once by somebody, it might have been your boy Zach, that the writer, Jason Aaron, is a big-time environmentalist, bit of a lefty for whatever that's worth, and that definitely comes through here. Nevertheless, he does it with something of an adept hand. The whole threat is that the House of El was not an elite house. They weren't part of the Science League on Krypton. They were just manual laborers, and Krypton. Sound like Marlon Brando. Krypton was strip mined and exploited to the point of planet-wide environmental catastrophe, and the planet exploded. And the big reveal between like issues 3 and 4 is that the L's and a bunch of other manual workers, they find out that the elites knew about it, and they were preparing to evacuate just themselves from the planet. They didn't want news of the catastrophe to spread, because then there would be panic and it would imperil their own escape from Krypton. But Lara and Jor-El, Kal-El's parents, also kind of saw it coming, and they invented some new technology, and they had a special ship ready. and they were able to escape Krypton along with a certain unknown quantity of other Kryptonians. As I've said, one of the big differences is that in this one, well, there are several big differences. One of which is that Kal-El escapes Krypton when he's a teenager. He's not a little baby in a pod. He's already had an upbringing on Krypton that kind of parallels some of the problems that Earth is facing when he gets here. And so when he takes up the suit and this quest to go around the world rescuing workers who are trapped in dangerous situations, the environmentalism theme also comes through because he's trying to stop humans from doing to their planet what Kryptonians did to theirs. And all of the strip mining and the hazardous conditions and stuff, that's being done at the behest of this corporation that the Peacemakers work for, and that is ultimately under control of Brainiac. So this whole thing is gearing up towards some sort of showdown between Superman and Brainiac. Another big difference is that in this one, he's got a suit that's kind of intelligent and high-tech. So there's a little bit of a flavor of Iron Man to him. It's got an AI in it that he can talk to. It's adaptive to certain environments. It can take the heat. The cape, such as it is really like a cloud of red nanites that follow him around and can be useful for certain things. So, 20 years after Edna Mode said no capes, they're finding ways to adapt it for this new story. Every time something pops up that's familiar from Superman canon, I have been impressed with the little inventive flair and inventive twist of it, to where it still pays homage to the roots of each of these characters. Lois had a background as an army brat. Jimmy Olsen is a photographer, but it makes sense that he could be a bit of a turncoat spy documenting things, etc., etc. All of those things are there, and it's cool to see how they've developed them. Now, to give it criticism, which is due, there are elements of the messaging that are not at all subtle, and the writing could be punched up and improved in this way. It's a little bit after school specially in terms of, when Lara and Jor-El talk to Kal-El, and your secret strength is that you're kind and you're nice to people and you have a good heart. Like, you could be a little bit more subtle with extolling his virtues to him and steering him in the right direction to, use power for good and for the benefit of other people. It was too heavy-handed on that front. Another thing that they're really heavy-handed about is portraying Jor-El as soft-spoken and intelligent, and Lara as hot-headed and tough, and she's the one that wants to pull a gun and throw a punch and stuff like that. There are even scenes where the artwork is really cool and looks good and it's well done and everything, but it's, again, not subtle about, like, we turn the page and here she is in her super Kryptonian costume and she's carrying a huge gun, and it's like, okay, we get it. It looks good, but like, subtlety would go a long way towards ironing out some of the wrinkles that popped up in the first 5 issues here. That's pretty much it. I'm excited to see where it's going. Issue 5 cliffhangered with Clark Kent deciding to return to Smallville for some reason. So it strikes a pretty good balance between revelation and escalation with each issue, just because there's so much of the foundation to establish from the Superman lore side, as well as the stakes to escalate on the absolute Superman storyline side. So, what's Brainiac after? What's he doing? Is what Superman doing effective? Is he going to be able to save the day doing what he's doing and the way that he's doing, or does he have to change tactics? Is he going to need allies? He had Krypto on Krypton. What happened to Krypto? What about... It's so weird to have Krypto on Krypton. It's like, this is my dog, Ert. Anyway. Is he going to have the Fortress of Solitude? What role does that play? Again, like, where's Jonathan Kent? What's going to happen with Martha Kent? What happened to Lara and Jor-El? Did they die in the explosion of Krypton? Did any other Kryptonians survive? And so on and so forth. There are plenty of big questions to ask, and like so far, there aren't any glaring plot holes in what they've established, and I'm just enjoying myself. That's always the key ingredient. So when the trade paperback comes out in a few months, you can check that one out. I'll probably do a write-up of this one that's a little bit tidier over on the Substack like I did for Absolute Batman. But again, out of the Absolute Trinity, I'm having the most fun with Superman. That's just me. Anyway, that's my review. Drive safe. See you out there.